So you're at the part in your graphic novel collecting and reading journey where you think you've about read it all. Well, let me be the first one to tell you that is simply not true. There is so many comic book and graphic novels out there for everyone, all shapes, sizes, different kinds of stories. Today I'm going to be sharing with you 5 of the graphic novels that I'm really enjoying, and they're all self-contained titles. So you don't have to have any prior knowledge of any of these series, except for maybe the last one, but I'm pretty sure you'll probably know the background characters on the very last one. These aren't in any order and isn't necessarily a top 5 list, but you can kind of treat it like that. But this is, again, 5 indie graphic novels that I think that you should definitely check out, especially if you're at the point in your graphic novel reading journey where you just don't know what to read. First up, we have Murder Falcon. Murder Falcon is an amazing story of a young man who conjures the titular character Murder Falcon, and it is by Daniel Warren Johnson with Mike Spicer on the colors, and it is an absolute gorgeous, heartfelt story about this young man who we don't really know a whole lot. And I don't want this to be a spoiler because at the end of the day, I want you to read these books. But Murder Falcon is a heartfelt story where him and his band just broke up. A lot of things happened in his life. The young man's named Jake, and he plays in a metal band, but unfortunately they just broke up. So he summons the power of Murder Falcon, and it has this amazing bombastic art that if you are a fan of Daniel Warren Johnson, you have grown to love. And anything at this point by Daniel Warren Johnson, this could have been just 5 books by Daniel Warren Johnson because he is a master of his craft and he knows how to write a not only heartbreaking but real, true story. And I say this, and it's kind of weird because there's a giant falcon who plays metal to fight the forces of evil in this book, but this is a grounded, you know these characters are so real and thought out. You know that Daniel Warren Johnson probably knew people in his life like these characters. So what Daniel Warren Johnson is able to do in this book is not present characters, but present people. I truly believe that Daniel Warren Johnson probably had people in his life that probably went through something similar to this. Obviously, not summoning a murder falcon, not summoning a falcon out of your guitar and stopping the forces of evil, but the things that Jake goes through in this book with his friends and his band is just, it's too real and it's too close to the chest that this isn't something that he didn't experience in some shape or form. But Murder Falcon is a perfect book. The very first graphic novel, and I'll say it made me cry. It made me cry. There is, I don't even want to explain. I don't even want to go into it. Just read Murder Falcon. It is excellent. Daniel Warren Johnson is a cannot miss writer and artist these days. Next up, we have Middle West, The Complete Tale by Scotty Young and Jorge Corona. This takes us to the land of Middle West, and seeing as though I am from the Midwest, I absolutely love this book. Now, at first, we think that this world is kind of a one-to-one of Earth, but as we read deeper and deeper, we realize that this is not the case. Jorge Corona does an excellent job in this book, kind of emulating Scotty Young's art, and the amazing colors in this book are just, oh, mwah, chef's kiss. We follow the story of Abel and his father and how childhood trauma is passed down generation to generation. This is an absolute realistic take on a fantastical world that really hits home that generational trauma and depression and things like that just trickle down from generation to generation, and it kind of shows us not necessarily how to stop it, but how to live with generational trauma. Scotty Young and Jorge Corona have absolutely crafted a masterpiece. This is an excellent book that any comic book reader, especially a fan of indie books, would definitely want to pick up. Middle West, this is the complete tale. It has every single issue in here. There's nothing after, there's nothing before. This is all you would ever need. And the art in here is just so good. Jorge Corona knows how to draw him a comic book. And of course, Scotty Young is an excellent writer and a pretty darn good artist. But Middle West is an absolute banger that if you are searching for something to read, definitely give it a shot. Next up on the list, I Killed Giants by Joe Kelly and Ken Nimura. And this is the book on this list that I read most recently. I actually just finished it up a couple days ago. And we follow the story of Barb, who she is a very troubled young girl. The art in here by Ken Nimura is simplistic, yet very amazing. And as you can see, the facials in this book are just incredible. You feel what the characters are feeling. You are able to just get inside of Barb's mind, and this follows Barb, and she has someone in her life who we don't really know at the beginning of the story what's going on, but she has a very fantastical mind. She's kind of rude because there is some trauma going on at home, and she lives kind of in her own world. There's these little fairies that show up occasionally, but in this book, she finds a friend who is a really good friend. Of course, there are a ton of moments where the friendship is tested, but at the end of the day, this is an excellent story that if you like indie comics and you don't just like superhero books, I Kill Giants is absolutely excellent. Joe Kelly is an amazing writer, and Ken Nimura, I'm not sure if he is typically a comic book artist, but he absolutely crushes it. I think for the most part, he does a lot of fine art, but this is excellent. It's a simplistic, very easily digestible art. There are no colors in this book, so if that's a deal breaker for you, then so be it. But I would implore you, even if you aren't keen to black and white stories, that you still check out I Kill Giants, because it will definitely open up your eyes, and this book definitely has something to say. Joe Kelly is about to start, if you're watching this when this comes out, about to start the Amazing Spider-Man on the ongoing series, so I am so stoked that I got to read this before I head into that, because this is an amazing tale of a young girl who is dealing with a lot and has a ton of just at-home baggage. And it just goes to show that sometimes when there are troubled kids, you just never know what's going on, and you should definitely treat everyone with respect. I love this graphic novel. Next up, we're switching gears big time. This is Ed Brubaker and Sean Phillips, the absolute dynamite team. This is Houses of the Unholy, and this kind of follows, this is a hardcover, the second hardcover on this list. The first one, but there are two. But this is a hardcover following the story of kind of this satanic panic from back in the 80s. But Brubaker and Phillips at this point are like Daniel Warren Johnson and Mike Spicer to me. I didn't even really know what this book was about. I just picked it up because I knew I was going to love it. And this has a very creepy, almost horror-esque vibe. But this young lady here, she was a part of a kind of hoax cult from back in the day, back in the 80s. We pick up to the current times, and she meets a detective who is trying to figure out maybe this cult is coming back. There was a bunch of children back in the day that made up stories about a fake cult, but because it was a satanic panic era, back in the 80s, everyone took it as serious. And then finally it did come out that was not the case, and these kids were just making it up. or so we thought, but I don't want to give away too much. There are quite a few spoiler pages in here, and be warned, there is quite a bit of blood, violence. I think there is a little bit of nudity in here, so definitely not for children, but Ed Brubaker and Sean Phillips, they don't miss. They don't miss these days. Brubaker and Phillips, a duo that you need to pick up. Any book that they put out, they're pretty much at the point in the career where they can put out a book, and if you build it, they will come kind of scenario, because they have years and years and years. Of course, with the Criminal Saga and Fatale, they've built up a reputation to just be a huge, amazing, dynamic duo in the comic book world. But Houses of the Unholy is an absolute excellent and very, very anxiety-inducing tale, but it all comes together in the end, and I really, really enjoyed my time inside the world of Houses of the Unholy. Next up, and the last book we have, which is The Last Ronin. Now, this was the book that I referred to at the beginning of this video that you might need to know a little bit of background, but honestly, we do a great job. Well, we do, not me. Kevin Eastman, Peter Laird. Yeah, that's right. The original, the creators of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles come back together for the first time, I think, since the late 80s, maybe early 90s. This is the first book they worked on since then. And oh, baby, is this a doozy. This is an excellent book. It is critically acclaimed. We find ourselves following one turtle, and we don't know the entire time, except for, obviously there is a reveal. We learn who the turtle is, but holy smokes, y'all. This book takes place in a future where all the other turtles are dead, except for this one. And it is very ambiguous, like I said, for the first half of this book, who this character is. Which one of the turtles? Mikey, Donnie, Leo, or Raph? Who is this turtle? We do not know. But it was an excellent, excellent read, and it's the dynamic duo. And I keep saying dynamic duo because all of these creative teams are just on point. And I wouldn't be making this video of a bunch of scrub creative teams. These are all great creative teams. The iconic Kevin Eastman, Peter Laird. Tom Waltz is also on this book, who did the last IDW run with Kevin Eastman. So you know that this book absolutely slaps. They even came out with a year 2, and I think they're even doing like a prequel to this. So this book, critically acclaimed, one of the best-selling Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle, one of the best turtle books, one of the best-selling and critically acclaimed turtle books in a very long time. And of course, the first time that Eastman and Laird are back on the book together. This was an excellent, excellent time. There you have it, comic book fans. That is my little list here. 5 books that I think you should be reading, especially if you're at a point where you think you have everything. If you don't have one of these books, do yourself a favor. Pick them up, because they are, at this point, classics. They are all classics. I appreciate you making it to this point in the video. If you did, let me know in the comments by saying dynamic duo in the comments. That would be awesome. If you've enjoyed this video, if you've gotten value out of this video, of course like it, but subscribe if you haven't yet. And of course set the notification to all. That way you don't miss out on content like this. That part is so important because YouTube just will not show you the content otherwise when I post it. Make sure, if you want to chop it up more outside of YouTube, you can follow me on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook, where I have other accounts off of here. Those links will be in the description below. But thank you all so much for checking this video out. And until the next time, I will catch you on the flippy flop. Keep on reading comics and keep on collecting graphic novels. Adios!